90% of the 2024 NECO Biology practical examination questions have been treated in this video. Hello and welcome to my channel. In this video lesson, I have analyzed the various specimens for the 2024 NECO Biology practical examination, and I've also answered likely questions that will be given on the day of the examination. So do well to stick around, get your writing materials and watch this video till the end. Before we look at the various specimens, here are important tips that should be noted about the practical examination. Number one, the practical examination makes up about 30% of your final score. This means that doing well in the practical examination gives you an advantage in getting a good grade. Secondly, when you are told to write the scientific name of any of the specimen, the first name should start with a capital letter and the second name should start with a small letter, and afterwards underline each of them separately. Then tip number 3, this is biology and you expect to draw. On your examination day, you'll be given some selected specimens to draw, not all but some. So when you are told to draw, your diagram should cover a good portion of the space provided. Do not draw a small diagram. Also label your work properly and give your work a title, and afterwards calculate the magnification of that diagram. If you can't do this, you can check up the video showing on your screen right now. In that video, you learn how to go about biology practical diagrams. Then tip number 4, when you are told to identify, identification simply means what is the name of that specimen. So you could be told to identify a specimen placed at your front. It simply means what is the name of that specimen. You can probably write specimen A is an onion ball or specimen A is the lumbar vertebrae. Then lastly, tip number 5, when you are told to find the difference or to differentiate or to contrast, you must do that on a table. Always draw a table when you are told to give the differences between two specimens. Just like when you are told to find the difference between the atlas vertebrae and the lumbar vertebrae, do that on a table. So moving on, specimen A is an onion ball, and the scientific name for this specimen is Allium cepa. So when you are told to identify specimen A, simply write specimen A is an onion bulb. Then the mode of propagation, or how do we plant it? It is propagated using the bulb. Then they could ask us, how is food stored in this specimen? So the food is stored in the leaf, and then they could ask us for the lifespan or the life cycle, which is an annual. The plant is an annual crop or an annual plant. Then, based on the agricultural classification or the uses, this onion is classified as a spice because it is mainly used for cooking. Then lastly, they could tell you to list the parts. The parts are the foliar stem, the scale, the tunic, the adventitious scale, and the basal plate. All these are parts of the onion bulb and they should appear on the diagram as well. So our next specimen, which is specimen B, is the ginger rhizome. The scientific name is the Zingiber officinale. And when we are told to write down the mode of propagation, it is propagated using the rhizome, and food is stored in this specimen in the rhizome as well. It has a life cycle as a perennial plant, or it is a perennial plant. So in exam, they could ask you classify the specimen based on its life cycle. So you are simply going to write perennial plant. Then the agricultural use, it is used as a spice, just like the onion. And then the parts, we have the node, the internode, we have the ball, the scale leaf, and the adventitious root. So in your exam, you could be asked a short question, what is a rhizome? Simply write, a rhizome is an horizontal underground plant stem that is capable of producing the shoot and also root. So that is just like a stem. The stem can give rise to a root and a shoot. So that's just it. So it lies horizontally on the soil. So it can give rise to a shoot and also to a root of a new plant. So moving on, specimen C is the iris protector, and the scientific name is the Solanium tuberosum. Remember that the first name should start with a capital letter and second name with a small letter, and then underline them separately. Next, the mode of propagation is propagated using seed tuber, and the food is stored in the roots. That is, it is a tuber crop, hence the name tuberosum. Also, the lifespan or the life cycle, it's an annual plant or an annual crop. Then they could ask you what is the agricultural classification they use it. It is classified as a tuber. So in your exam, they could ask you what is classification based on lifespan. It is annual. They could ask you what is classification based on the agricultural use. It is a tuber plant. Two different things. Next, you could ask what are common diseases of this specimen. So, the common disease of the rich potato are the fusarium wilt, the early and late blight, the black leg, and also the soft rot. So, moving on to specimen D, which is the potted bean seedling. You have to be very careful with this specimen because in your exam, this specimen could be placed without the pot and it could also be placed in the pot. When it's placed in the pot and you are told to identify, you are going to write specimen D is a potted bean seedling. When it is not in the pot, it is just kept on the table just like that. You have to write specimen D is a bean seedling. Simple. Next, they could ask you what is the age of the specimen. So it is a week old because in the specimen list sent to your school, they were told to plant this bean seed in 1 week to the exam. So when you are told to um identify or tell them the age of the plant, you're simply going to write a week old. Next, the scientific name for this specimen is Vigna unguiculata, and the mode of propagation, it is planted or propagated using the seed. Then they could ask you what type of germination does this specimen undergo? It undergo what is called an epigeal germination. Why? The cotyledon is carried above the soil. So your exam, most times they'll tell you what type of germination and give reasons. So you write epigermination because the cotyledon is carried above the soil. Then you could ask you what is the plant classification based on the seedling. It is classified as a dicotyledon. Also, the reason it has two seed leaves. So just like specimen D, you have to also be careful with specimen E. When specimen E is in the pot and you are told to identify, you are simply going to write a potted Guinea corn seedling. Then when it's not placed in the pot and you are told to identify, you are simply going to write Guinea corn seedling. Then they could ask you what age is that specimen. So it is a week old because your school was told to plant this guinea corn 1 week before the examination. Then the scientific name is the sorghum bicolor. And then the mode of propagation is propagated using the seed. And just to add, any propagation done using the seed is called a sexual propagation. Then any propagation done outside the seed is called an asexual propagation. Then the type of germination that this plant undergoes is called an hypogee germination. The reason is that the cotyledon is left in the soil. In your exam, they'll tell you what type and give reason. Next, next question is that they could ask you what is the plant classification based on the seed leaf. It is a monocotyledon because it has one seed leaf. Mono means one, di means two. But in the case of this specimen, it is a monocotyledon because it has one seed leaf. So another important question to be asked is what is germination? So germination is simply the process whereby a seed develop into a new plant under favorable conditions. And they could ask what are the conditions necessary for germination? The conditions are water. Water must be there before a seed can grow. Oxygen, the suitable temperature or an optimum temperature. Then you need soil, especially the right soil. That's like loamy soil. The seed have to be good. They have to be healthy. That's a viable seed. Also, we need sunlight and then humidity. Welcome back. Specimen F is the head of a pigeon with the neck. So when you are asked to identify specimen F, don't just write the head of a pigeon. Rather, write the head of a pigeon with the neck or the head of a pigeon attached to the neck. Then they could ask you what is the scientific name from which it is gotten from. So you simply write the Columbia livia. Remember, first name starts with a capital letter, second name with a small letter, and underline each of them separately. Then they could ask you what is the class from which it is gotten from. It is gotten from the aves, or the species belongs to the aves. Remember, in biology, ave consists of all birds, and this class ave is under the vertebrate. Then they could ask you what are the functions of the parts seen. From what you can see the neck. The function of the neck is to hold the head in position during movement. Also, we have the eyes. The function of the eyes is for vision. Also, we have the nose. The nose helps for gaseous exchange or for breathing. And also, we have the beak. The beak helps for feeding. Lastly, they could ask you what is the adaptation of the beak, because this is one of the likely questions they must ask you from this specimen. Why is the beak short and very short and not pointed or not sharp? The beak is mainly adapted for picking grains and seed. Moving on, specimen G is the atlas vertebrae of a rabbit. You could be asked what is the location from the organism from which it is gotten from? The answer is simply the cervical region. Cervical also means the neck region, but in exam, simply write cervical region. You could also be asked what is the number of atlas present? It is just one. Then could be asked what are the number of vertebrae present in the cervical region, or what are the number of cervical vertebrae? They are the same thing. So there are 7 cervical vertebrae present in the rabbit. And then the function. The function of this vertebrae is to it supports the head. It is the closest bone to the skull, so it helps to support the head. Next, it permits nodding and rotation. That's how you can nod and rotate because of this particular bone. Also, it permits movement in one direction. Moving on, specimen H is the lumbar vertebrae of a rabbit. So when told to identify, simply write lumbar vertebrae of a rabbit. Don't forget to include that word of a rabbit. Next, they could ask you what is the location of this vertebrae. So it is located in the upper abdominal region. Next, they could ask you what is the number of lumbar vertebrae. So in this specimen, which is the rabbit, there are 7 lumbar vertebrae. Next, the function. It simply supports the body's weight. It provides attachment for muscles and ligaments. Thirdly, the function of the lumbar vertebrae is to protect the spinal cord. In fact, the major function of all the vertebral bone in the body of vertebrate is to protect the spinal cord. So you could be told to draw a diagram of this specimen. On the diagram showing on your screen right now, the first diagram above is the superior view, and the one below is the lateral view. So when you are asked to draw, look at the question, look at what type of view are they asking you to draw. If they tell you to draw the superior view, draw the one above. If they tell you to draw the lateral view, draw the one below. Moving on, specimen I is the cactus plant. It is a common desert plant and it's a terrestrial plant. Terrestrial because it lives on land. The scientific name is the cacti, and its habitat or its dwelling home. The habitat means the dwelling home or the natural place where you can find this organism. So it's found in deserts, in the savanna, the dry land, or the arid region. Then the third question, which will likely come out, they will try to list the adaptive feature. The adaptive feature simply means what are those things that it possesses that is making it to stay in that habitat or in that region where you can find it. Number one, it possesses succulent stem for storage of water. Secondly, the leaves are reduced to spine so that it does not lose water easily through transpiration. Thirdly, it has green stem to carry out photosynthesis. Remember, the leaves have been reduced to spine, meaning there will be no way for the leaf to carry out photosynthesis. Now, the stem now take over the function of photosynthesis. That is why the stem are green. Thirdly, the stem is covered with cuticle to prevent water loss, just like the leaves have been reduced to spine to also prevent water loss through transpiration. Lastly, this plant has a very bitter taste or a distasteful sap, so that organism does not feed on it because they feel like the sap from it is very bitter, so it prevents animals from feeding on it. Moving on, specimen J is the water lettuce. It is an aquatic plant, unlike the cactus, which is terrestrial aquatic because it lives on water. The scientific name is the Pisidia striatus, and its habitat is water surface of ponds, lakes, and streams, that is, slow moving waters. Next, the adaptive features, it has a broad leaf and area, a broad green and area leaf. Secondly, the presence of air on the surface of the leaf. The reason is that there are airs on the surface of the leaf so that water does not block the stomata. Remember, the stomata is used for gaseous exchange, just like the nose of human being. And there is in fact on in our nose to prevent foreign materials from entering our nose. Also, the airs here prevent water from blocking the stomata. Secondly, if you look at the picture, there are numerous roots under. Those roots are called adventitious roots. It dey help to anchor the plant and also absorb nutrients for the plant. Also, it has a slender stem. The reason is that it has a slender stem so that water current does not move it away. It's just like someone push me from the back. Someone with his hand pushes me from the back, the person can easily push me. But when I am as slim as a broom, that hand may just pass over me. So that's the reason why it has a slender stem. Next, it has spongy stem for storing water, and also it has a rosette arrangement of leaves. Welcome back. Specimen K is the ripe tomato fruit, and the scientific name is the Solanum lycopersicum. Remember, the first name starts with a capital letter, and the second name with a small letter, and then underline them separately. For the classification of fruit, it is a true fruit. Fruit are said to be true when it develops from an ovary only. Also, it is a simple fruit because it develops from just a flower with one ovary. Also, it is a succulent fruit because one or more of its fruit wall is edible, meaning you can eat either one or more of its fruit wall. And lastly, it is a berry because all the fruit wall are succulent and edible. You can eat everything within the mango. That's why it is classified as a berry. Next, they could ask you what is the placentation. It has what's called an axial placentation. They could ask you what is the type of placentation with rhizome. So right, and it has the axial placentation. Then the rhizome, the ovary is attached to the partition in two or more chambers. If you check the tomato, it has several chambers, just like the orange. So the seed are found within that chamber. Then the mode of dispersion, it is dispersed by man. Man can carry the seed, animals can carry the seed, and also water can also carry the seed from the parent plant to a new location. That is dispersion. Dispersion is movement of a seed or fruit from the parent plant to a new location. Next is specimen L, which is the ripe plum fruit. The scientific name is the Eliasis guineensis. For the classification of this fruit, it is a true fruit. Remember, true fruit develop from the ovary only. Also, it is a simple fruit. Simple fruit are fruits that develop from flower with just one ovary. It's also a succulent fruit. Succulent because one or more of its fruit wall is edible. Next, it is a drupe. Why is it a drupe? Because the epithelium, that's the outer layer, is thin. Then it has the fibrous, that's the middle part. The middle part is fibrous. So it has the fibrous mesocarp. And lastly, it has an hard endocarp. That is, the knot is hard. For the type of placentation, it has the basal placentation because the ovule in the ovary or the seed in the fruit are attached to the base of it. For the mode of dispersion, it is dispersed by man, animal, or water. Next is specimen M, which is the ripe Tridax fruit. The scientific name is the Tridax procumbens. For classification, it's a true fruit. Remember, true fruit develops from the ovary only. It's a simple fruit because it is a fruit which develops from a flower with just one ovary. It is dry because none of its fruit was edible or none is succulent, and then it is indehiscent. By indehiscent, they are fruits that do not burst open when dry. So it is only dry fruit that can be classified as dehiscent or indehiscent. Dehiscent if they burst open to release their seed, then indehiscent if they don't burst open. Then for its other class, it is a cypicella. Cypicella because it's a dry fruit and that contains just one seed. And also its fruit wall has this hairy nature, just like what's on the screen. And also it has this parachute nature. Parachute to enable it float in air because one of its mode of dispersion is wind. Therefore, a type of placentation, it has the basal placentation, just like the palm fruit. And also for its mode of dispersion, it is dispersed by the wind, it is dispersed by animal, and also by insect, majorly by wind. Moving on, specimen N is a ripe mango fruit. The scientific name is the Magnifera indica. For the classification, it's a true fruit. Remember, true fruit comes from the ovary only. Next, it's a simple fruit. Simple because it comes from a flower with just one ovary, and it's succulent because more than one of its fruit wall is edible. It's also a drupe. Remember, the palm fruit is a drupe. Drupes are fruit that have a thin epicarp, that's that thin outer layer. It has a fibrous mesocarp, that's the middle layer. Then it had endocarp, that's the inner fruit wall. Then for a type of placentation, it has the axial placentation, just like the tomato fruit. And lastly, for the mode of dispersion, it is dispersed by man, animal, and water. Then you could be told to draw a longitudinal section, which is shown on your screen. For a longitudinal section, you have the epicarp, you have the mesocarp, you have the endocarp. Then if you cut deep into the seed, you can see the embryo and the endosperm and then the seed coat. Next is specimen O, which is a ripe flamboyant flower. It is also called the flame of the forest. For the scientific name, it is known as the Dillonyx regia. Then for the type of placentation, that's what we call a marginal placentation. In this case, the seed are simply attached to the margins or to the edge or to the ventral side of the ovary or to the fruit. If it's for the ovary, the ovules are attached to the edges, the ventral side or the edges of the fruit. If it's for the seed are attached to the ventral side of the fruit. Then for the type of flower, it's a flower of the superior ovary. They will likely ask you this question. So they can tell you what type of flower is that with reason. So it's a superior flower because the ovary is positioned above, hence the name superior. Is the ovary positioned above the other floral part. Then for the type of pollination, it will undergo what's called an insect pollination, or it is an insect pollinated flower. Moving on, we could be told to write out the similarities between the drupe. Drupe, an example, is the palm fruit, and the berry. For similarities, they both have seed, they both have 3 fruit whorls, they also have colored pericarp, and also they have placenta. Lastly, their mesocarp is fleshy. Then they could tell us to find difference between, let's say, specimen K and specimen N. Specimen K is tomato, and then specimen N is palm fruit. So this table will help us. For the drupe is palm fruit. Then for the berry is the tomato fruit. For the differences, number 1, the drupe has a hard and stony endocarp, that's the palm fruit. The berry endocarp. Also, the drupe, that is the palm fruit, has a fibrous mesocarp, while the berry's mesocarp is not fibrous. For the drupe, the epicarp and mesocarp are fused together. Then for berry, all the 3 are fused together. Also, the drupe has 1 seed, that's the palm fruit, but for the berry, that is tomatoes, has multiple seeds. So there are other examples there which will help you. Lastly, you could be told to define seed dispersal or seed dispersion. This is the movement of seed from their parent plant to new area. Just like probably you have a mango tree, then after eating up the mango, you throw away the seed to somewhere different. That's seed dispersion. So you are throwing the seed away from the parent plant to a new location. Then what are the method or what are the mode of seed dispersion? Number 1, or you could be asked what are the agents. Examples are man. Man can do that. Animal can also take up seed and throw them in a new location. Then insect, then wind will move up the seed. Then water. Also, we have something called explosive mechanism. In explosive mechanism, for example, the rubber seed, it will just burst open, then it will shoot the seed far away. Next, the last question is a likely question you see in your exam. They will ask you what are the characteristics of wind pollinated plant, especially for traders. And traders is specimen O or specimen N rather. So they could ask you what are the characteristics or what are the adaptive features of traders. Number 1, they have lightweight. Second, the seed are usually small and inconspicuous. Inconspicuous means not visible, so that they are not eaten up or destroyed by animals. Also, they don't produce scent or nectars. It is usually insect pollinated plants that produce scent. Also, they are produced in large number. Also, the fruit wall is modified to parachute to enable it move in air. In the exam, you could be told to define pollination. What's pollination? Pollination is simply the transfer of pollen grain from the anther to the stigma. That's pollination. So friends, I hope you enjoyed this video lesson and you learned something from this video. Don't forget to like this video and also don't forget to share this video lesson to your friends who are writing the NECO examination just like you. If you are new to this channel, don't forget to click on the subscribe button so that you always get notified as soon as new videos drop on this channel. Till you get to see my next video, do have a wonderful time and success in your examination.